Welcome to yet another episode of Nerds with Badges. It's July the 14th, 2025, and I wanted to, first of all, finish my review of Superman, the new movie. I had promised to do a part two. So, I've been noticing when I look at a lot of the stuff on social media, people are talking about Mr. Terrific. And I gotta say, Mr. Terrific really was a pretty awesome character. I like the more ground level, I guess, street level characters who might not have the flashiest in the way of superpowers. And I really love technology based characters too. I mean, like I like Cyborg. He's one of my favorite characters. I do think that they might have made him a little OP over the last 10 years or so. Um, but I've always enjoyed characters like uh, the $6 Million Man, for example, the Bionic Woman. Characters, they were super strong. They had one right arm that was like robotic and two legs, and the $6 Million Man had this like super eye with and the Bionic Woman, she had like super hearing. But they were to me it was just like it was awesome, just imagining being able to run at like 60 miles per hour, being able, being strong, and having that connection with computers. And also, later it really, I started becoming interested in like prosthetic technology, because all that stuff, it was science fiction. The $6 Million Man, the Terminator, you know um, but a lot of that stuff is becoming more real. The technologies, can be used to help a lot of people. um, and Mr. Terrific, he's a character who's, he's very smart. He's supposed to be the third smartest person, I guess, in the DC universe. I knew he was smart, but characters become a lot more, gotten a lot more exposure to the mainstream. And I remember seeing a comic panel where I think Lex Luthor slaps him, and then he slaps Lex Luthor, and he punches Lex Luthor back, or he slaps him back, or what? It just slaps the shit out of him. And it's hilarious. And there was a story where Mr. Terrific proved very instrumental in helping when, I guess, robots kind of took over and targeted the superhuman population. I don't know if it was, what was the name of the storyline? God, I can't remember. It was a really big storyline that happened with Mr. Terrific's technology. The fact that he's invisible to technology, he's literally invisible. You don't, he doesn't show up on cameras, or it kind of reminds me of the X-Men. People kind of forgot that. They just quietly retconned that. But the X-Men are actually, well, 12 of the X-Men are supposed to be invisible to electronic technology, but they just kind of got rid of that. They're just, so, I mean, like for example, if Storm were to walk inside of a a shopping mall, and the video cameras we just see like a kind of blurry image. And this happened when they died. It was a Fall of the Mutants storyline where Storm had ended up getting her powers back, and they were in Australia dealing with some. I think it was like demonic characters. I think it was. I can't remember, it was so long ago, but yeah, Mr. Terrific has got these little, T spears, I guess he calls them. They look little round things that follow him around. They kind of like levitate. I guess it's magnetism. But anyway, they are, I guess they're kind of like AI, and they protect them, and they have weapons and stuff. So Mr. Terrific has this really cool scene in the movie where he just goes, him and Lois Lane, they storm this camp, and he takes out like the entire, all the soldiers and all, he just takes them all out with his technology. And he doesn't even, you know, I I think he actually gets physical with a few of the soldiers, but it's mostly his T spears, which are kind of like that scene from the X-Men 2 movie where Magneto breaks out of prison with the balls bouncing all over the place, and you're just like, that's pretty much what happened with Mr. Terrific. I love the jacket too. the fact that it says fair play, is pretty cool. It's unfortunate that the comic, The Terrifics, didn't really last long. I was reading it for a while, but I'm really reading way too many comic books, and sometimes it's hard to keep up, and sometimes release dates might, you know, they might get delayed or whatever, and so sometimes I don't even know if some comic books, might have gotten canceled or they might still be around. But I tried to keep up. But sometimes, man, it's like it feels like you go a couple of months and Black Panther, Ultimate Black Panther, all of a sudden it seemed like it just jumped from being 4 issues, all of a sudden it's up to like number 12, and you're like, what the hell? How did I miss? So when you're trying to read like 20 comic books, which I'm really trying to cut my number down. But anyway, yeah, Mr. Terrific really did a cool job. I liked his portrayal, and I liked the actor Edie. I really liked him a lot in Startup. That was a show about these people who were trying to start up it was like cryptocurrency kind of business that ended up getting involved with gangsters and stuff, and it was a really cool show. It was an original show. I believe it was Crackle that had it. It was either I think it was Crackle, which doesn't exist anymore. It was a cool app like Netflix, but it was free. It was I think they were like the first to really start doing like original stuff. I guess Netflix wasn't really doing a lot of original stuff at that time. I don't even know if they'd done any, other than maybe Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the sequel, and there was maybe, I feel like there was a couple of other ones, but the first thing I saw on Crackle, the first original, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a Vin Diesel produced series about some bouncers. They worked at a bar, they're the security guards or something. I wish I could remember the name of it because it was a pretty cool show. It was a series, and so it seems like every app now is doing like its own original, and all you see are things that just make people want to, get these apps, because you can't get everything all on one app. It's like playing video games. There's some video games that are over here on the Xbox and some that are over here on the PlayStation, some on Nintendo. And if you want to play all of them, then you might have to consider springing for that $500 box to sit under your TV. When they're kind of trying to do away with exclusives because they're so expensive, and if you put out a game on a platform and you spend $200 million on that game and you're not really making that profit, I can see why developers are like, maybe we should put our games on these other systems as well. But anyway, I liked Lois Lane. I thought she was portrayed pretty well. Crypto just got on my nerves. That dog just really, he needs some serious obedience training. I mean, really. Just imagine a poodle with the powers of Superman. A poodle, an out of control poodle that don't listen to nobody, with Superman's powers. Yeah, it was cool seeing Supergirl show up. Hawkgirl is kind of like, I know somebody complained about her screaming, that doing the bird scream whenever she's attacking. I feel like we really could have gotten a little bit more info on her, because I feel like she was kind of like, her character didn't really get a lot of like attention. It was really, she was like everybody else, like Guy Gardner, asshole, but yet endearing at the same time, if that makes any sense. It's pretty much how he is in the comic books. I like Guy Gardner. He's annoying. He has actually evolved to become a very cool character, even though he's got those quirks with his personality. I used to read Justice League, which was, I think it was a it was Giffen and I can't remember the artist and the writers, but my God, I think it was Maguire. But anyway, the Justice League was a funny comic book at one time. And you have Martian Manhunter, his addiction to Oreo cookies, and you had characters like Booster Gold and what's his name, Blue Beetle, who I really didn't care much about until then. But it was a fun comic. It was goofy, and the artwork was really cool. And I liked that run. And it really didn't have a lot of the powerhouses. Like you really see Superman and Wonder Woman there. Sometimes they would show up. I think it might have been Justice League International, actually, that I'm thinking about. But anyway, there was some obscure characters. It's kind of like James Gunn tends to do with Suicide Squad, characters like Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a kind of like misfits, characters that really don't get a lot of screen time, but then you focus on them, and and then actually you see these are actually some pretty cool characters. But I have a lot of like fond memories of reading the those old Justice League comic books. But yeah, I feel like Hawk Girl really didn't get a lot of attention. So I don't know what the mace that she has. I know it's supposed to be made out of the nth metal, which is like the DC version of vibranium. It's supposed to be like indestructible. My God, the time is going by. It's almost, Jesus, almost time for me to start my shift. So I may have to do like a part three of my Superman review. But I will just say that the movie, even though it was definitely colorful and it was, I think it was a family friendly movie, but at times it got really dark, surprisingly dark, and I found myself just like with a lot of the classic Disney movies. I really Lex Luthor I just wanted to just irrational hatred of Superman, which doesn't make any sense. This guy got all this money, all this technology, and all he can do is just literally put the Earth in jeopardy to just concoct this grand plot, to just destroy Superman, and and just taking people with powers hostage, and I mean, literally shooting a man at point blank, and just torturing Superman with kryptonite. Yeah, Lex Luthor really, he's something else in the movie, man. And I don't know, Superman is, believes in the good in anyone, and I, really on some level believes, I'm sure he does believe that Lex Luthor has some good inside, because I talked before about Shades of Grey, which is in everybody. But man, how do you could forgive things, man? And I struggle with this sometimes. But sometimes I think there might be some things that maybe you just can't forgive, or you just can't overlook. I don't know. I am probably in the top 10 of people on this planet who still are optimistic and believe in hope, and a lot of the corny stuff people probably think is corny, because I grew up with comic books, really, so I've been instilled within me sense of morality that I don't really see in a lot of people around me. I mean, I gotta say it. I mean, I look around, I see the things that people do, things that people say, and you look at people from different backgrounds, you wonder how they would be in a certain situation. So somebody like Lex Luthor, if he'd been raised a certain way, but then again, some serial killers seem to have don't really seem to have like a traumatic type of situation you would think that would make them become the way that they are. So I don't know. Lex Luthor is just, to me, he's just mentally ill. Just this irrational hatred of someone that's just different. And Superman being from another planet, and this fear and horror, and just, I think you can create a monster out of someone good if you really push them. I don't know. They always say, the Joker always tells Batman he's one day away from becoming him. So maybe by Lex Luthor doing all these crazy things, what if Superman had literally snapped at some point? But you really see that Superman kept his cool even after seeing someone get shot point blank, an innocent person, for no reason. And so I don't know. I guess some things, when you do a 2 hour movie, however long it was, 1 hour, I don't know if it was 2 hours, some things you really can't elaborate on. But I think anybody, and I know people complain about Superman being emotional or whatever, but I mean, I think that anybody in a situation like that, even though I think being a farm person, he should be, his personality could be a little bit different, but I don't think there's anything wrong with how he reacted. And as far as like screaming, I don't know, maybe we're just not used to seeing people act like that, the guys anyway. And we can't all be cheap stone faced all the time. But anyway, that's a part two of my Superman review. I'll come back tomorrow. As right now, I gotta rush off to start my shift. It's already time just flew by. So I'm out for now. This is part two of my Superman review.